This video, I'm going to show you how to add some slicers to your data visualization report. So under the visualization, this little icon here, if you hover over it, is called a slicer. And so I'm going to pull that guy over and I'm going to select a field that I want to slice up the data by. And I'm going to start with call type. So I'm just going to pull that value into the field. And now I can select the different call types that I want to see. So if I select just 911, I can see counts of incidences that were 911 phone calls. I can just unselect it. So this part is tricky. If you just want to see everything again, you just unselect everything. Maybe if I just want to see in-person complaints, I can just click here. Okay. Now, we can leave the slicer like this. We can also edit it and make it just a drop-down box. And then we can come in, select things that way. And you can just clear all the selections if you want to. This little guy right here clears the selections. That's another way to clear them. All right, I like the drop-down menu, especially because I find that it's hard to fit everything on one page, and that way we can just make that a lot smaller. And now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add another slicer. This time I'm going to do the use of force indicator. I want to know if these crises included force. I'm just going to drag use of force over here to the field column, field area. And once again, I'm going to make this a drop down and I can just look at the crises that included force. And we'll make that a little bit smaller. All right. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to add a slicer for year, but I realize now that we forgot to do a year column in our query editor. If I look back at the data, I have the different dates, but I didn't pull off just the year of occurrence. So we have a little bit of work to do. It's not too bad though. And there's probably more than one way to do this, but this is the way I did it. I said, oh gosh, I really want that year on there. So I'm going to come back to the spreadsheet view. And again, we could have done this in the query editor, but forgot to, but this is a good reminder because sometimes you're just working in the data and you realize, oh gosh, I want to add another column. I don't want to have to query the whole data set back in again. You can still do it here. I want to pull this year off. And one way to do that is you can come in here and you can right click and come to new column. And it's going to make us do a calculation up here. Do you see how it sort of started this up here for me? And I'm going to call this year equals, spell year right. Now when you start typing, Power BI is pretty smart, so it kind of knows, it can kind of start to predict what you want. I want the year, and I want it taken off of this occurred date. So I'm going to start to type occurred, and it automatically populates and says, okay, you probably want this from occurred date. Yes, I do. All right, so I'm just going to click on that, close my parentheses, enter, and it should be over here at the end now. And it is. So now I've got the year off of the occurred date. And there's some other functions in here as well. You can see that Power BI is just loaded up with stuff. So I'm just trying to give you a few starting places so we can get the year pretty easily now that we're actually inside the desktop and we've already queried our data in. So if we forget to add a column, we can still do it. So now I'm going to come over here to my fields and I see that year is now added. So I'm going to add another slicer for year. I'm going to pull that up here. Okay, great. Now you see we have some different options for year. Since it's numeric, it's allowing me to do this little slide business. So I can look at 2016 to 2018, you know, and so on. That's kind of fun if you have a really like a continuous range of data, but I'm likely going to want to just look at it by year, and there's not that many options. So I'm going to see if I can edit this and say, I just want that drop-down box again, actually. Okay, but you can see that with the numeric data, there's some different options. You can do the between, which will allow you to toggle with this guy. Less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. So you can play with that if you want. But I think in the year case, since we only have 4 years, a drop-down box is appropriate. So I'm going to leave that as is. And there we go. Okay. Now, if you want to add titles to any of these pieces or play with the font, you can go into Format and you can add a title. It gives you, well, you got to turn the title on first. So notice all of these have the on-off button. So you can add titles with different fonts, etc. And that's going to be true again, just the option isn't super obvious, I don't think, but anytime you're in any of these graphical displays, when you want to format colors or fonts, you're going to use the little paintbrush option. Okay. All right, so now we have all of the different graphics in our data set. For our report, we're going to pick up in the next video with figuring out how to publish this as a report to the web.